Hello everyone, it's Anna. Today we're going to be creating a decorative box that can hold your seeds. My seeds are all over the place for whatever reason, so I thought I would just make something pretty to take everything. This isn't a revolutionary idea, nor is it very complicated, but hopefully it will be fun for you. You can do this for yourself on your own quietly. You can certainly bring the kiddos in, and there are a lot of different ways that you can actually do this project. So, we're going to talk about materials first, and that will lead you into different directions that you might choose to go. The first thing you need is a box. I like these tea boxes. I think that they work really well. It's a nice size and it's great because I have a bunch of them. Cigar boxes are also really beautiful and wonderful. You can sometimes get them at wine stores, they give them away. Then there's adhesive. Um, there are different kinds of glues, and I love this Craft Bond Extra Strength glue stick. It is acid free, it works on photos, and what's so amazing about it is that I can glue thin paper without my glue rippling my paper because the more this kind of Elmer's all purpose glue tends to have a lot more water in it. If you are going to use a glue like that, you want the brush matters. So you want a stiff brush. You want to be able to work the glue into the fibers. If you have something that is too flimsy, you just won't be able to glue along your surface as easily. So you want a stiff bristle. If you've got kids and you don't know what glue dots are, you are missing out. These are amazing. I don't have to deal with glue all over their clothing and on places that you don't want it to be. And it just is easier for little ones to do things more on their own. They're kind of fun to peel and they work whether they're all balled up or whether they actually can remove them and kind of keep them flat. So whatever kind of adhesive you want will work just fine. If you're going to be working with an adhesive, I don't know if phone books are even still a thing, but I love to hold on to these because when I am working with glue, what I like to do is glue on the phone book. So I'll put my glue on my object and work the glue over the object, and I can go off the edges to make sure I really get the edges well. And what I love about the phone book is that I can just take my object off, fold that piece of paper, and I have a new clean surface to work on that doesn't have any glue to make messes. So it's really useful. The next thing you need is some kind of decoration, paints, stamps, any kind of pretty paper. So these are the different directions you can go. If you're going to go the paint route, whether for yourself or with kids, especially with these tea boxes, the surface of the cardboard is waxy. So if you're going to paint, you need to paint the whole surface. I painted them white because this happened when the first painting project started. So I painted them white so that the acrylic paint would adhere to the box a little bit better. If you're doing this for yourself, you may want to paint it a solid white. You could see if stamping on the box itself would work. I'm not sure. You could certainly try that. You could stamp with paints or, if you have actual stamping ink, you can do that on a separate piece of paper and have your kids or yourself make the decorative paper yourself and then cover your box with that. I got these great inks on Amazon and those cute little stamps I'm pretty sure I found at Michael's as like a kit with flowers and birds and bugs. So let's talk about paper. There is this really cool printable paper that has an adhesive to it. Silhouette is this company that I just happen to have. They have white sticker paper, craft adhesive paper, white vinyl, this cool silver paper. I like creating my own designs on the computer and then, or printing or painting something and then scanning it in and then printing it onto the paper. This craft paper that I got is just a little bit different than other craft paper and self-adhesive craft paper that I've had in the past. And it's not sticking to the box as nicely in the end, so I'm not as happy with this, but it exists and it can be really fun to use for yourself or with kids. I am a collector of paper. So if you have any bits of wrapping paper, those little pieces that you just don't know what to do with, you could collage the paper, you could cut it and wrap it around your box however you want to do it. Let's talk about cutting your paper. So scissors versus a straight edge and a blade. In my art classes, I don't allow students to use scissors unless if they're trying to cut something that is straight. You certainly can, but you won't get as beautifully straight a cut as you want. So if you want to cut a really straight edge, this is what you want to do. For example, I'm going to measure out 5 inches. I want my paper to be 5 inches wide. So I turned it on its back and I'm going to just make a mark every 5 inches, and you want at least 3 marks. Use pencil for this. And then you are going to line up your ruler. I wasn't able to stick my head directly over the ruler because of the camera, so hopefully it worked. And then you would grab your blade, swipe it to the side. I'm right hand dominant, so I'm using my left hand to push down on my ruler with good pressure. And I am using gentle pressure, pulling it towards my ruler. And as my blade goes down the length of what I'm cutting, I inch my fingers along with it. So let's actually make the box. I measured the height of my box to be 2.5 inches. So I actually measured out 3 inches. I'm just using something, an 8.5 by 11 paper that I printed out. So I measured out 3 inches, making 3 dots, and then I measured out 6 inches so that I would get 2 3-inch high strips. Now I am lining up my strips with my box, and I'm just wrapping it around and pinching at the corners and then folding it nicely. I had a little bit of a struggle with one of the folds here. You can see it didn't quite match up, so I just kept kind of refolding it and repinching it to make sure. So this little bit of extra height is so that I have just a 1/2 inch that I can fold over the top of my box. I think it makes it look nicer. You certainly do not have to do that. You could just wrap your paper around the box. So one panel reaches all the way. The other side doesn't reach all the way. The paper doesn't reach all the way on the side. So I am using 2 strips of paper, and there will be overlap so that everything looks nice. So again, I pinched the corners and made sure to fold nicely. So you can see how they're fitting. So this side overlaps on the spots where the paper doesn't reach all the way. So now I'm making sure that my paper is flush with the bottom of my box, and I am using a pencil and I'm just marking where the excess is along the corner there. We're going to cut that height and then cut a little V. You don't have to do this part, but if you have extra, it makes folding your paper a lot easy to cut that V. So I make sure that the bottom of my paper is flush with the bottom of my box, mark the excess on the tops, and cut a little V. Again, I make sure that I'm lining it up nicely. So I'm figuring out, what do I need to glue? Okay, I'm going to start with the part that doesn't overlap or that doesn't go all the way around the box. So the first two panels, not the one that my hand is on. So I'm going to, it helps if you have long fingernails. I'm not going to glue the bottom panel there. I'm just gluing the top two panels, and I kind of brush from the center out. It's really important to make sure that you get your glue all the way to the edges. So make sure that your paper is touching the bottom, touching the tabletop, and that sort of helps it stay flush with the bottom of your box. And then I'm just folding over the tops and pressing the paper to make sure that it sticks nicely to my box. Now I'm getting the other side, and I should be able to glue the whole thing. So pro tip here, having a cup of water to put your brush in so that your glue doesn't dry out while in between while you're working on something is really, really handy. But then you can see I had to squeeze out the excess water. Otherwise, if you have too much water on your brush, it will make your paper very, very wrinkly. So again, you kind of work from sort of the center out, and it really helps to have longer fingernails. And again, I'm going to make sure that my paper touches the bottom of touches the tabletop, and that makes it flush with the bottom of the box, and then I fold everything over. And this is just supposed to be fun and bring a little bit of joy and color into the cold winter that we're still dealing with. Get us excited for gardening coming up. If you end up doing this project, I would absolutely love to see pictures. So feel free to email the Perennial Report at gmail.com. I'll have that up on the screen. And in a moment, you will see an example of one of the boxes that my kids did. I thought that they would cover the whole thing with acrylic paint, and so I didn't paint the whole box as opaque as I should have, or with as thick of a paint as I should have. I probably should have done it in more layers, but it was fun. I had fun. They had fun. I hope you enjoy this, and happy gardening, everyone.